Some people do not like a lot of meetings, and when things change or when people start coming with different topics and they get stressed out, EM's life is just that. Whether in India or abroad, everywhere EMs are going from one context to another.
Hello and welcome everyone. Hope you're keeping well and staying safe. This is Hafsanjom and I work as a community executive at Recro, wherein we are working towards building an exclusive community for developers to help you get connected to like-minded people, build your network and grow professionally. Those who don't know about what Recro is, it is a developer-focused platform helping developers meet the right opportunity by connecting them with fast-growing startups such as CureFit, Uran, Swiggy, Dunzo, etc. So welcome to Recro Talks again. And today we are hosting a webinar on what does an engineering manager do and is the role for you. Our guest speaker for today is Dhruv Agarwal. Dhruv is a senior engineer manager at MESAC and with hands-on experience on tech product manager with over 6 years, creating and leading product teams, sitting in the intersection of the technology, people management, and business. He has spent last 2.5 years as a tech leader, delivering not just high scale solutions, but also fully enabling product teams.
Okay, all right. So I have a question for you all. Just raise your hands if you feel you don't understand what your manager does. Raise your hand or okay, Sai Kiran has. We have more people. Nice, very nice. Raise your hand if you fear that you might risk your tech career if you became a manager. Awesome. We have a good participation of people having these questions. So you have come to the right place. We'll talk about what does an engineering manager do and is this role for you? About me, I am Dhruv Agarwal. I am a senior engineering manager based in Copenhagen and working with a company called Maersk. If I were to explain myself in simpler words, imagine a Venn diagram with 3 sets: tech, people, and product. You'll find me at the intersection. Now, before we start, people in the Zoom, can you just introduce yourself? We know your name. Can you write your company and the city where you're joining from? Okay. Hello, Sai. We have people from Andhra, Bangalore. Hey, Imran. Cool. So today we have a jam-packed session for you. First, we'll talk about who is an engineering manager. Then we'll talk about what does an engineering manager do. The third, we'll move to see, is this role for you? And in this section, we'll also do a hands-on exercise. And then we'll close this session with a round of question and answers. Who is an engineering manager? Before answering the who, let's answer why. So if you imagine life without internet today, it's very difficult. But just a few years back, we all had limited access to internet. The internet was only present, just a second. Internet was only present with offices, cyber, and rarely we had internet in our homes and mobile phones. But now we have fast internet and apps in our phones. What does that mean? Earlier, businesses were more brick and mortar, and tech was used to make their operations efficient. So if they had a process, maybe customer service or any other operational process, filling dashboards, filling data, they used to hire a service company to build solutions for them. And then once the solution was built, they used to go back to their own business, and which was in tech. Today, there is tech in everything. Everyone is using tech. The companies are using tech to make easier customer experience and products which are there handy in our phones and solving our problem daily. So what used to happen then was that all the services company used to hire skilled engineers, and those people moved from project to project. That required a project manager to understand how things are going to be done for the respective company. Today, the teams are set up in-house and hence have longer life cycle, which is equivalent to the life cycle of a product or the company. So we need two new roles, which is engineering manager and a product manager. The product manager paves the path to the vision of what we want to achieve. How are we going to solve customer pains? And the engineering manager utilizes the team of engineers to make that vision possible. So now in any typical product tech org today, how does a career path look like? We start as a software engineer where we are doing, programming and solving tickets. When we want to grow, there are two possible paths. One is to become an engineering manager where we'll support a team of engineers and build the product, or choose an individual contributor path. An individual contributor owns the technical maturity of a system. They are the owner of how the system will look like, not just today, but also, let's say, when we scale up to the next product level. The typical titles you see are going to be engineering manager, team leads for the management path, and for the individual contributor path, you will find titles like tech lead, staff engineer, SD3, varying on the org to org. So let's talk about engineering management more. What does an engineering manager do? They don't do anything. So the talk is over. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining in. Okay, so let's be serious. What do you think are the key responsibilities of an engineering manager? So people from the audience, can you write in the chat, what do you think an engineering manager does? Okay, Rajesh says coordination. Any more? Scoping and prioritization, that's a good one. Help career development of the team, that's a good one, Imran. Stakeholder management, scoping, everything from hiring to delegation, that's also a good one. So let me rephrase all these right answers and also add, what I learned after talking to hundreds of people is that an engineering manager's key responsibilities can be categorized into three broader chunks. One is people, second is project, and third is process. Let's talk about each of them in detail. First, people, right? As an engineering manager, let's say Vaibhav is an engineering manager, Vaibhav will hire the team. His energy will go into searching for the good people for his team, interviewing them, inspire them to join the company, join his team. So hiring becomes a key responsibility of an engineering manager. Once you have people in your team, you have to grow them. You have to be their supporter in their personal goals, professional goals, take one-on-ones with them. Now, you all would have some managers, right? And depending on the manager's style of management, they would talk about different things. Some of the managers might be talking about projects on, when are you delivering this? What are you delivering? Some people like me are just talking about, anything apart from work, just chilling in their one-on-ones. And some people have a balance. So generally, engineering managers are responsible for growing their team. If you have something else that you guys discuss in your one-on-ones, happy to see that in the chat. A lot of times, so Vaibhav has raised his hand. So guys, if you want to say something, I think chat is the best place. If you have a quick question, and I'll address that. And a lot of time, what happens is that as an engineering manager, you are not able to, bring the best potential out of the person. There might be a skill issue or there might be a will issue. How to solve a skill or will issue? For skill issues, you can train them by yourself, by someone else in the organization, subscribe courses for them. On the will issue, you really have to practice empathy with them. You really have to connect with them on what's happening in their life and can you help them achieve it. If neither of these things work, then you have to let go with objective expectation setting. The next is project. In a project management, there are three phases. The first phase is now. What's happening right now? The current sprint, set of stories. If you are in Kanban, then you would have some backlog items that you are working on. So as an engineering manager, we are responsible for hosting daily stand-ups, knowing what the team is up to, unblocking them on any challenge that might come from them. And if the team is stuck on something, if the project is delayed, then it's engineering manager's responsibility to keep all the stakeholders informed. Then there is a soon phase, something which the team is going to work just after this thing, just after the now phase, which can be your next sprint or can be your backlog, which needs to be groomed. In this phase, engineering manager is supposed to work with a product manager. When they work with the product manager tells them the priority or the impact, and the engineering manager gives a rough estimate, a t-shirt sizing of things so that they can prioritize things. As an EM, we are also responsible to make sure every story, every ticket is objective enough and has the context for the team to work on. Then there is the later phase. As an EM, it's the core responsibility to keep visibility for the team. The team might feel insecure on what we are going to work. That might have happened with you sometimes, that, oh, we don't know what the team is going to work on, what am I going to work on. So it's very important to keep that visibility with the team and work with the PM on setting the right direction for the charter. This is just to solve for visibility. A lot of companies solve it by taking town halls, by by taking product training sessions. To manage people and projects effectively, we need processes. So let's understand this area with an example. So in my team, the process we used to follow for delivery was that once there are stories for people to work on, for every story, we used to plan for that story, develop that story, give it to the QA to test, and then release it, and then see if the release works fine, right? Similar process at every place. So now how do I improve this? How do I start improving this? So the first thing you have to set up in every process is to measure what is the process going to deliver, what is the output of this process, and in this process, what are my steps that are being executed. In this case, I was measuring velocity. Now my goal was to see, are there any bottlenecks in this process? Is the team getting stuck somewhere? So I found that, oh, the team develops and gives the stuff to QA. We only had one QA for a team of 10 engineers. So everything was coming to him. And once he gave feedback, then people used to go back and then there was back and forth. So the QA was becoming a bottleneck. So what I did was I modified the process to take all the brain from the QA in the form of test plan. So we started preparing test plan during the planning of the whole process. So instead of the QA being present in the test phase only and getting requirements all of a sudden, we started involving them in planning phases where they used to write a test plan, bullet points on what they wanted to test and expect. The developers, after developing, were asked to checkbox every test plan item they had, and then there used to be a QA sign off and then release and so on and so forth. Soon we came across the next problem, which was after every release or after every other release, the PM started coming up and with changes. Oh, the copy was not right, or we didn't say to make this or that. This feature operates differently. I am not getting convinced. So we added a new process called demo days. what demo days was that once the developers have ensured that the test plan is working, we used to invite everyone for a demo, which the engineers used to host to show what the feature is and what are we going to develop. Once everyone had buy-in, we used to release it and there was no back and forth. Now, since all of this was sorted, was there a QA sign-off needed? I don't think so. So we dropped the process. So now let me summarize what we did on the process side. We started with measuring. Once we started measuring, we started to find bottlenecks. We modified existing process to see whether we can improve our output, which was measured. We added new processes to streamline and simplify things. And we dropped the process which was not required anymore. So to summarize the key responsibilities of an engineering manager, there are three categories: people, project, and process. So from the audience, can someone write what does an engineering manager do in the people area of their responsibilities? Thanks, Soumya. Hire and grow them. So they hire, grow, and also sometimes, unfortunately, let go. Someone to volunteer on the project side. What does an engineering manager do on the project side? Webber is उनकी जिंदगी sort करना overall. Okay. On the project side, what does an engineering manager do? Okay. So on the project side, they guide, but guidance is there in every aspect. So on the project aspect, there are three phases, as Jyoti also mentioned: setting small, medium, and long-term plan. So there are three phases: now, soon, and later. They sort out any blocker that comes in the way for the now phase and also keep the stakeholders informed. On the soon phase, they make sure the team has objective tickets to work on. And on the later phase, they make sure that the team has visibility for what they are going to work on in the next quarter, 6 months, 1 year, depending on the organization you are in. In the last two phases, which is soon and later, they work very closely with the product manager to build that. And finally, in the process, we measure, modify, add, or drop processes as and when required. Here, starting with the measure step is very important. Cool. And so now, drum rolls for is this role for you? Okay. So now deciding what role to choose is very important. And how do we understand that, right? To understand any role, first let's understand what that role requires in terms of personality traits. Irrespective of which path you choose, whether it's the engineering manager path or the individual contributor path, some things will be the same for both of them. The first is that people will start relying on you more. Your ownership will increase. Your ambiguity will increase. People will not give you as structured things. Things will be hazy. You might not have the right answer for everything. And overall structure will decrease. People will start talking about larger problems with you. So two common traits which are required irrespective in your career path are ownership and clear thinking. People should be able to rely on you, and you should be able to convert ambiguity to structure so that others can follow you, so that your team can follow what you are saying, they can understand and then excel in their own role. So now let's talk about specific traits required for each role. Let's start with an engineering manager. Engineering managers have to be great communicators because they have to talk to a lot of people, right? They have to talk to their developers, they have to talk to the product manager, they have to talk to the CTO, operations, and different people. So they should have a very good skill to communicate their ideas properly. Leadership is all about empathy. You can't lead people just by commanding, right? You have to relate with them. You have to imagine your life in their own shoes, what might be their challenges. And with that, you inspire them, empower them to perform the best they can. In a typical life of a manager, you would imagine that they have meetings all day, and all the meetings have different nature of conversation. In one meeting they might be deciding architecture of a feature, in the other they might be talking about PR reviews, in the third they might be talking about strategy or hiring with CTO. So an engineering manager has to be very agile so that they can switch context very easily and still give value in each of those meetings. Now let's talk about traits required for an individual contributor. The first and foremost, they have to be specialists. They have to be gurus of the subject because the developers in the team look up to them. You would imagine any SD3 or architect level person in your team, and you generally look up to them for harder problems, right? You generally derive respect from them because they know so much. So as an individual contributor, your trait should be a specialist. Tech ideas are best represented in documents. You can't orate a great tech idea or an architecture, right? You have to draw boxes and arrows and explain which one is better, why is it better, what are the technical details of it. So an individual contributor, because they don't have authority directly over the people, they have to motivate people from their ideas, which are documented so that they are spread farther and stay longer in the organization. Usually, an IC's or individual contributors decision enable the product to scale up later. So the foresight which is required is very high on how the product will shape up, what are the decisions they should take today which enable the product to scale up faster later. Something like adding patterns, choosing the right architecture, choosing the right tools is something which goes into their kitty. I'll take a pause here. Any questions till this point? If everything is okay. Okay, Rajesh says answer my question. Rajesh, just give me a second, I'll see. As an engineering manager, who will be first level of trust, either QA or dev or operations? If any questions, will be to which team and whom? So the trust I feel is present in or like across the team. It's the same team, just the functions are different. So that's my view. If there are questions, then you present it to the team and the best person should answer. So I would say there is trust across. Prakash, how commonly, actually that depends from organization to organization. So I'll recite Prakash's question. How commonly are specialists expected to handle a team? Again, it's organization to organization. I would say from this presentation, and now we'll head up to the next area where I'll want every one of you to gather pen and pencil. I mean, pen and paper. So it's org to org. It's not right to expect a specialist to. I mean, people can be specialists and good people leaders as well, but to lead a team, you need those characteristics that I mentioned for an EM. Okay, all right. So I hope I answered both of your question, and I'll take more question and answers towards the end of it. So now that we know the traits required, what does it mean for us? Okay, I'll tell you a little story behind how I found my path. So some years back, I think now 4 years back, I went on a solo trip, and because I was so alone, I questioned a lot of things and to what is the right path for me. And I was an SD1 back then. So after reading and after thinking, I came up with two ideas. I could not find any good idea that worked for me online. So I came up with two ideas. And then since then, I've tried this with a lot of people in my team, in my peer group, friends, and people I mentor. To find the right path, first we need to find our direction of happiness. Okay. So, like you have a compass, you need to find where is your happiness. And then in that direction, what path should you choose? So we'll talk about both of these exercises in detail now. Introspection generally takes a longer time. So I'll tell you the process, and then you can reach out to me if you need any help, and you can do it yourself. And then retrospection we'll do in the session. Why are we working? Why do we do anything? Right? It's to sort something at the end, right? We want to be happy. So that goal is sorted for everyone. Someone wants money, someone wants something, someone wants to do this thing right now, someone wants to grow in their career at the current moment because they think that it will be good for them. So everyone is working for happiness in the long term. So let's start backwards. Okay. When we introspect, we'll find our direction of happiness. Let's do this. Okay. Imagine your life at 50 and imagine yourself that you are very happy. And when you imagine that person, you really respect them. So just imagine that. Okay. And write whatever you can imagine. So you can imagine yourself driving an expensive car, living in an expensive home, or you can imagine yourself retired peacefully, sipping tea on a hill. You can imagine that the hill is yours, you're running anything. You can just go wild. Just don't think of morality or what someone else will think or what is a good dream for someone else. Just be true to yourself and write down whatever you felt. Then to achieve that dream at 50, write down what your life should be at 45. Right? So now let's say if you are chilling at 50, is there anything that you need to do at 45 to prepare for that? If you are leading a very lavish lifestyle, maybe you have to set up something at 45, 40. So just do this exercise where you backtrack 5 years and 5 years and 5 years. So I'll give you my example here. So I wanted to change the world at 50, right? In my imagination, I'm working on something which is changing the world. So at 45, I would definitely have to work on big ideas or businesses or how, or leading a large company, leading a large team. Then at 40, there should be a goal which leads to that, and 35 and 30, right? And likewise. Keep backtracking till your current age. So for example, if you are 27, then till 30, keep backtracking and compare your current state. Are you heading in that direction or not? Is your direction coherent with your happiness? Is it, I mean, you are your better judge. But don't worry if it's not. Age is still in our favor. You can calibrate. If the direction is not the same as what this exercise is offering you, but for sure there is happiness in this direction. So you can calibrate your direction and move and start moving towards happiness. This might be very cliche, but manifestation does work. So I did this exercise at 23, and in my exercise at 25, my goal or my direction of happiness was to become a manager in tech, right? And I was an EM at 25. So this works very well, and automatically you start working towards your goals. But what is the right path? The direction is set, but how do I check the path, right? So now I want everyone who wants to participate to get a pen and paper. Okay. Cool. Once you guys have gotten it, just write okay, done, thumbs up, whatever you feel like in the comments, and then we'll start. Imran and Sai are ready. Rajesh is also ready. Cool. So the trick is very simple. The best path in any direction is the path which utilizes your strengths. Okay. So here is a 3-step process. Very easy to find your strength. First of all, take a piece of paper, which some of you have. So first step is done. Now I need all of you to concentrate. Okay. And write down one activity which you fondly remember from your school, your hobbies, your university, your workplace, your friendships, your relationships, anywhere, right? All this life that you have lived, you would have, fond memories or activities which you really enjoy. You enjoyed doing in school, you enjoyed doing it now. Later, it can be anything personal, professional. Just, just think through, go crazy. Once you have written it, type in the comments, like raise hand, done, thumbs up. We'll wait for 2 minutes here and until everyone has time to think about it. For example, I'll give you my examples. In school, I used to try out different activities which I really enjoyed. I used to do programming. My computer was not very good, so I did not play games. And I also was a very nerdy kid, so I did not used to play outside. So tech was something I tried. Music was something I tried. I also tried different skill sets. So I was able to learn very quickly. That was one of the things that I used to like, to learn new things.
Okay, meanwhile, I have a question from
Yeah.
LinkedIn Drew. So
Yeah.
that's from Mother. And he asks, what is the difference between Scrum Master and Engineering Manager?
So a scrum master is like a project manager, where he or she is responsible for ensuring that the team of engineers, QA, and the that whole team is delivering, the cadence of the team is ensured. So whatever the project is, they are delivering it fine. The team is well greased to produce those output clearly and practice Scrum as a methodology. So the three key responsibilities that we spoke about, uh, in that only the project part is what the scrum masters handle. The process is already set, that is given by a guy called Jeff Sutherland, in a process called Scrum. So Scrum is a specific way of managing projects, and Scrum masters are the people who practice that process to manage project delivery of a team. Whereas an engineering manager manages an individual's growth, hires them, has more tech expertise and people expertise. Scrum Master does not give any tech expertise, in my opinion. Okay, Imran has written, I enjoyed helping my team doing UI projects in Visual Studio, which was not common that time. We earned a lot of praise for that. That is a great activity, man. Do you remember anything else as well where you help people, Imran? And people, are you writing? Are you able to recall things? If you are happy to share with everyone, that's great. Otherwise, you can also give a thumbs up when you are done so that we can move to the next steps. Faizan used to like teaching. Awesome. Wow. Vaibhav like to random talks with people I know, music, and exploring some random topics across domains. Yeah. Curiosity is some trait, Vaibhav, I can see. Cool. So people who are writing, I'll give you more hints, right? As an adult as well, if I see, I was trying, I was practicing a similar trait where I was trying to do YouTube, tech, somewhere growth, product management, and different things. So those things I can fondly remember from my childhood life and adulthood life. So now what I want you all to see is that is there a pattern in the kind of things you fondly remember across these areas? Is there a pattern on how you look at things? I mean, how things are similar where you are enjoying them? Maybe the type of activity, maybe the way you feel, maybe the way you have dealt those situations, or maybe there are some traits that you exercise, right? So in the chat we see people with curiosity, people with teaching skills, people who are building something, decorating their locality. Imran is decorating things, or he's mentoring people. Typically all these patterns are the strengths. Okay, if you do it reverse, the things which you did not enjoy are your weaknesses. So whichever path you choose, you have to identify your strengths and weaknesses. So let me explain with an example, right? As I mentioned, I was trying out different things. So my trait which I utilized was a generalist trait. However, when I started realizing what I did not enjoy, I could remember that I used to suck at competitions, even as a kid, adult, anywhere, right? So that becomes my weakness. Competitive spirit becomes my weakness. And you will find a lot of people with different traits, right? Some people will have a killer instinct of, I'll just ruin any competition that comes on my way. So I'll give one more minute for all of you to see where you are good at. Some people might be good at problem solving. Some people might be good at helping people. Some people might be good at making friends or something else. So let's have one more minute, and where you can reflect about yourself and share what strength you have found about yourself. What is the trait that you found that, oh, this is my trait, this is something that I found. It'll be awesome if we are able to find one trait each. We'll have 26 traits in this call. So Faizan, Imran, I can tell your answer. Can you, what is your answer? Vaibhav? Wow, Sanket has found something. Sanket, so what trait did you find? Great. Teamwork motivates you. So you will always enjoy when you are working with teams, instead of working on silos and individual projects. So something that you should not do is maybe, when you are freelancing as an individual contributor, that might not motivate you. Faizan likes helping people and make them grow together. So you guys are killing it. Become an EM soon, if not already. Um, yeah, Imran is also good at coaching people. More, I would love to see, what other people have found out. Should I start calling out names? Jyoti, what did you find out about your traits, strength or weaknesses? Nihit, Dhananjay is helping others with their technical problems. Interesting, interesting. This is a very good trait. You can become both. if you and try to find other traits as well, where you can see whether the mentioned traits are there or not for EM: great communicator, empathy, agility. So the reverse is, some people do not like a lot of meetings, and when things change or when people start coming with different topics and they get stressed out. EM's life is just that, whether in India or abroad. Everywhere, EMs are going from one context to another. Prakash likes to solve problems. Vaibhav likes to make friends working with problem solving. Ranjit likes tech mentoring. Wow. Harshal likes to bridge the gap between the tech and business. That is a great trait to have. Hit me up after the session. We'll chat more. Awesome. So let me summarize. If you want to find your path, the first and foremost exercise you have to do is to find your direction of happiness. It is your compass. Find which direction your happiness lies. Calibrate as soon as possible. It doesn't matter what others think is the right path for you. You have to carve your own path. When you have found your own direction, use retrospection to understand what your strengths are and how can you utilize them to achieve to go in your direction of happiness. Once you have done that, you'll at least not regret any day of your life, and I haven't after I have discovered that. So now I'll just close it with question and answers. Happy to answer any. Do we have any questions on LinkedIn or YouTube, Hafsa?
No, we don't have any questions from there.
Okay. Let me recite the question that Vaibhav has asked. Currently, I'm working as a developer in a small startup. Now we have started to scale. So there is a need for someone who can manage things or people, who's an engineering manager, supposedly. Now I'm kind of at a place where I'm working both as a developer and pseudo engineering manager, since there is no one who can direct me, direction, mentor. I don't know exactly what I should be doing and how. Okay. Good question, Vaibhav. So how many, so depends on how many developers you are mentoring. Generally, until 2-3 people, you don't need a lot of mentoring. And if you are managing those people directly, if you are someone who approves their leaves, uh, does their appraisals, then you need to start doing regular one-on-ones with them. As a manager, your key role is to enable your team and not be the hero of the team. You have to enable them for success. So the only magic sauce of engineering management is to enable everyone for success: the organization, the people with you, PM. And so just think in terms of that. Whether you have to develop, start devoting your time in training those people. If they lack some of the qualities for development, try to make main features or the hot path features with them, not make things dependent on you, and invest your time in honing your people skills and enabling your team to do better, and unblocking them. Because once you start developing, then you are inside the project and you can't help them much. Then they are also stuck, you are also stuck. So try to come out from the development phase and help them. As mentioned by Faizan, EMs are servant leaders. Very beautifully put. Thanks, Faizan. Kishore, how did you, at 23, how did you figure out that you wanted to be an EM? Because I did this exercise, I started with a goal of 50, then it became entrepreneurship somewhere in the mid. And then for entrepreneurship, I felt that, okay, today I can't do an entrepreneurship because XYZ reason. And then I realized I even for entrepreneurship, I need to lead a team of people and hence build a product. So that's how I came up to be an EM. And I think I realized some of the traits like helping people, developing people, communication were one of my strengths. Hence, I decided that EM is a better path. Because you can imagine, right, at early in your career, you get a choice to become IC or EM, and most people choose IC, so I chose EM because I was very clear at that. Thanks for asking, Kishore. So Rajesh mentioned, what are the resources you are using to grow technically? Generally, so I keep an eye on what technologies are floating around. I'm more interested in products in general and the tech which comes in. What is the tech solving? And then I just go read whatever I can find, any material. For example, for blockchain, there are right now we are anyway in the age where information overload is there, underload is not there. So I just go and do it. I don't do anything in particular. Maybe Product Hunt is one place I visit very often, and Hacker News is the other I visit. WebHub, why not PM? Very good question. Very good question. So as a PM, you don't have people authority and you don't grow people. You are always doing stakeholder management, and also looking at the vision of the product. I realized that I wanted to work with people, grow them, and help them become better along with the organization. Plus, I liked influencing things on the tech front, imagining things on the tech front. So, tech, people, and product, as I mentioned in the beginning of my introduction, that was my area of competence. So, hence, I chose to be an EM. Where, and as an EM you can always influence product, but as a PM you cannot influence or grow people. That's what I believe, because people are not reporting into you. Prakash, curious to know what's the split of this group. I am also very curious to know. Thanks, Prakash. That's a good question. People just mention in the chat, uh, which path are you thinking of going? However, I would recommend doing this exercise first, and then hitting me up on LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever, to give your answer, or I can be of any help in that process. Dhananjay, what and how and what should we do to take on from senior software engineer to engineering manager? So Dhananjay, that's also a very good question on displaying your traits. The easiest path is to imagine two key responsibilities: people and project. On the project front, you can start exhibiting ownership, right? So you should start with the two common traits, which is ownership and clear thinking. Once you start communicating, once you start taking on more ownership of things, you'll start exhibiting your chances of growth. So everyone will understand, oh, Dhananjay is ready for growth. And now for the specific roles, EM is more inclined towards people. So let's say someone is joining new in your organization, you can start mentoring them. Someone is a SD1 in your organization, or just a software engineer, you can start building their career path, helping your manager in doing some of the scrum or whatever your stand-up activities. So start exhibiting that, and first and foremost, tell your manager that you want to become one, so that whenever there is an opportunity, he or she helps you grow to that. One more question, I mean, no one has asked, but I'll answer here, is that in case you don't find an EM opportunity in your organization, what you can do, either join a startup in their early stages and grow quickly as an engineering manager, because if a startup will grow, it will hire more people. It will more people means there needs to be someone who manages them, and hence you become an engineering manager because you are exhibiting the traits. Generally, it is better if you get promoted internally first, work for some months or 1 year ideally, until you understand engineering management, and then switch if you want to move to another place as an engineering manager. Did we miss any question? Oh, okay, sorry. Let me answer questions from the Q&A section. Other than the soft skills, what is the major difference between EM and IC? As I mentioned, IC does not manage people. EM is a lot people heavy, and IC also does not own the delivery of things or stakeholder management. So an EM is responsible for removing bottlenecks from the delivery. If teams are stuck on the other teams, is there a bottleneck on the process? So EMs are the ones doing all the communications. ICs don't do that. EMs own the maturity of the team. ICs own the maturity of the system. So I hope, Faizan, I've answered your question. How to deal with low performance of a team member who I believe has potential? Very good question. So anyone who's not performing up to the potential has two issues, two broad category of issues. One is skill and the other is will. You have to check whether the motivation is aligned or not. And then if the motivation is aligned, is the skill aligned or not? In the skill, you will find specific answers that he needs to understand patterns, or she needs to understand UI, backend, whatever, and subscribe courses, train, pair program with clear cut goals of what you want to grow and what your expectation is. Slowly, the performance will get better. If the skill is the gap, if will is the gap, then you need to talk to them first. You don't need to challenge them with mistrust. Understand their worries, because generally people want to be successful at their job and generally have the intent to work. So just understand how you can help them. Let's move to Ranjit's question: how you are dealing with people who has different mindset than that in team. Again, will issue, and a lot of times you will find such people having different mindset. Generally, the true solution is to hire the right set of people who bring in an open mind but their own expertise, so that they can collaborate with the team to come to the right answer. If someone has to apply force in decision making, then you have lost it. Then only the leader or the commander will lead it. That's not the right culture. You should inculcate the culture where people collaborate and learn from each other. In case there is one case, then you have to set the right expectation. If it is blocking the team on something, people are creating nuisance, or they are having different opinion on things. Ranjit, did I answer your question? Okay, great. Jyoti has a question. Did you ever get a thought of switching back as an IC? If yes, what was the major reason? Did you have to build any of the EM traits that you have mentioned after becoming an EM? Thanks. That is a very good question. Unfortunately, no. I mean, fortunately, no. I did not feel ever of going back to IC, just because I backtracked my own happiness path. So I enjoyed every day. I was more energized than being an IC when I became a manager. Of course, I wasn't a great communicator. My communication skills were not as good in terms of delivering ideas in a crisp way, understanding people. I believe a lot of these traits. So I liked helping people, but understanding, empathy, and communicate, like interacting with them on a level which they also understand and they get empowered, is something you learn on the job and you keep getting better at it. So I would not say I'm still the best at it. There are better leaders than me which inspire me, but it's something which you learn after doing it. You can't learn it in silos without becoming a manager, without leading people. So I'll tell you one more example, that because I became a manager so young, everyone in my team whom I was managing were elder to me, right? And then you have to start understanding from their mindset on how how someone younger to us is asking us to do something or the other, right? You have to gain their trust as a leader first before you start leading them. So Rajesh, I have answered the question someone asked me before for the steps for EM. Weber, one thing that bothers me a lot: if I move completely to management side of things, it will not be getting my hands dirty, rusting on that front. Now, considering that I would be involved with very smart ICs, will not having more experience backfire me. It depends. Generally, you can grow your technical side of things on the side, and that's why it becomes a little more valuable to have more learned EMs, people who are truly passionate about tech, and you can always try and learn about things. In any other case, from the architecture and high level design standpoint, you should be very, very well versed. So yes, you will not go completely rusty. You will not spend as much time programming as you were doing as an IC, but you can solve that by learning things on your personal time on your side. Generally, people become EMs after a lot of experience. So they have done a lot of programming, but the tech world keeps on changing all day and night. So what I personally do is I have my side projects running, I have my side hustles running, and I keep programming in the night as they speak. You can always hit me up on LinkedIn. Hafsa can post my LinkedIn ID. Happy to connect. I usually keep posting things, jokes, any mental models. You can go on my profile, and there are some of the things which I really liked on the mental model side. I've pinned that on my profile, and happy to help. If you reach out to me otherwise. But thank you so much for making out time on a Saturday evening. Thank you so much. It was lovely engaging with all of you. Take care.
Well, that brings us to the end of this wonderful session. I would like to thank each one of you for joining us. Hope you learned something from today's session. We will look forward for your post on LinkedIn along with your key learnings. And don't forget to tag Recro, tag Dhruv, because obviously we had an amazing session, and thank you for explaining in that detail. And also thank you, Dhruv, for joining us. It was awesome having you. Thank you for taking out time and sharing such insightful information. So before we end the session, we have like few things that I really want to share. We have created a community for developers called Recro Tech Circle, wherein you can connect with your fellow developers, get career opportunities, ask for help. The link to join is in the chat, and you can join in there. You can connect with your fellow developers, discuss the trends, key trends that's actually going on in your industry with different domains. And if there's anything that you want to learn in our further webinars, or if you want to have Dhruv to come on some other topic or maybe something in detail, we would love to have him on board, and he would love to come to help you guys with something that you really need. Yes, and we have made a LinkedIn post about the session. Do comment your learnings on this post, and if you have more questions, and follow and connect through the Dhruv or LinkedIn. A link is in the chat. You can just go him, and he'll be more than happy to connect with you personally and answer your queries and get connected. And if you're exploring career opportunities, Recro is hiring passionate developers. Check out the current openings at Recro's page called Jobs. Follow us on social media, on Instagram, on YouTube, and LinkedIn. So you can follow us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel, and you can follow all the updated events. That's all for this session, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope to see you in the next session. Take care. Stay safe. Thank you so much.